All right, so ever feel like you're just drowning in tasks?
Totally.
Like you're just never going to catch up?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we are diving into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog today.
Okay.
And it is an absolute lifesaver if you've ever felt overwhelmed by your to-do list.
I love that this book, Tracy doesn't sugarcoat it or anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't pretend that we can just like magically clear our plates.
Right.
He says right up front, there's always going to be more to do.
Always.
But the magic is in choosing what to tackle first.
So it's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things.
Yes.
And that's where this deep dive comes in.
Okay, cool.
We're going to decode all of Tracy's strategies for beating procrastination and actually getting things done.
So he kicks things off with this analogy.
Oh, yeah.
The whole eat that frog idea.
Right.
Imagine having to eat a live frog every morning. Awful.
Right. Don't even get me started.
But that's exactly his point.
Okay.
If you tackle your biggest, most daunting task,
Yeah.
first thing, everything else feels easier.
So true.
It's like you harness that early morning willpower.
Yes.
And then you just ride that wave of accomplishment throughout the day.
You know what? I think we've all had that feeling.
Oh, for sure.
Like you knock out one tough thing early and suddenly the day just seems manageable.
Totally. It's like a mental hurdle.
Totally.
And then you're just free to sprint.
Sometimes identifying that frog, though, can be a little overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have a million things going on.
I know what you mean.
So that's where the power of writing goals comes in.
Yes.
Tracy, he points to this crazy statistic.
What's that?
That only 3% of adults actually write down their goals.
Really?
But get this.
Okay.
Those who do
achieve
5 to 10 times more than those who don't.
That's a huge difference.
I know, it's a crazy
So just write it down and it like magically happens.
Right.
Like what's the deal?
That's what I'm thinking.
It's not magic,
Okay.
but it's pretty close.
Okay.
When you write it down, it makes those goals real,
Okay.
tangible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like sending a direct message to your subconscious.
Okay.
This is what we're working on.
All right. I'm sold. I got to start writing down my goals.
It really does make a difference.
Okay. So let's say I have like 10 goals written down.
Okay.
How do I know which one is my frog?
Which one should I do first?
Yeah. Like which one deserves my immediate attention?
You've got to ask yourself,
Okay.
which goal, if I achieve it,
Yeah.
would have the biggest positive impact on my life right now?
Oh, I like that.
That's your frog.
Okay.
That's your priority.
Okay. Okay. So how often should I be looking at this list?
Good question.
Is it like a once a year thing or should I be looking at it more often?
Tracy's big on consistent planning.
Okay.
He says you should be working from lists,
Yeah.
daily, weekly, and even monthly.
Really?
Yeah. And he says it can boost your productivity by 25%.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So that's like 2 extra hours in my day?
That's what he says.
Wow. I am taking notes.
Good.
Okay, so what's the secret to creating a really effective list?
He recommends making your list the night before.
Okay.
Gives your subconscious a head start.
Oh, wow.
It can process everything while you sleep.
So you wake up with a plan.
Exactly.
I'm all about maximizing those nighttime brainwaves.
Me too.
All right, but let's be honest. Sometimes I feel like I'm spinning my wheels even with the perfect list.
I know that feeling.
Like, how do I make sure I'm focusing on the tasks that actually matter?
Yeah, that's where the 80-20 rule comes in.
Okay, I've heard of that.
20% of our efforts produce 80% of our results.
Right.
You've got to figure out what that 20% is
Okay.
and make it your priority.
So it's not about doing more, it's about doing the right things.
It is.
But here's the thing that I always find interesting.
What's that?
Tracy says that people often procrastinate on those most important tasks.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
It's easy to get caught up in the urgent stuff,
Yeah.
but not the important stuff.
Right.
And we tell ourselves,
Yeah.
oh, I'll get to that big task later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But later never comes.
Never come.
It's like
Yeah.
we're avoiding the main course
Yeah.
because we're snacking on appetizers
I like that.
all the time.
So how do we break free from that cycle?
He calls it creative procrastination.
Okay.
And this isn't about being lazy.
Right.
It's about strategically delaying or even eliminating
Life.
those low-value tasks
Okay.
to make time for the important stuff.
I love that.
You.
Creative procrastination.
I do.
I'm going to start using that.
I love it.
Okay, so how do you decide what to ditch?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it feels like everything on my list is important.
He has a good question for that.
Okay.
He asks,
Yeah.
if I wasn't already doing this task,
Yeah.
would I start doing it now?
That's a good question.
If the answer's no,
Yeah.
it's probably a good one to ditch.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it's about getting ruthless with your time?
Yes.
and your energy,
Absolutely.
and making sure they're not being wasted on things that don't matter. Totally.
Okay, so once you've cleared out the clutter,
Right.
you need a system for prioritizing what's left.
Yes.
Tracy suggests the ABCDE method.
Okay, I've heard of this.
You've heard of this, right?
Yeah.
So you rank your tasks from A being the highest priority,
Right.
all the way down to E,
Yeah.
the things that you should eliminate.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the golden rule is to never work on a B task
Yeah.
when there's an A task still on your list.
Right.
It's laser
The
focused
laser focus.
on those big frogs.
Yes.
The things that have the biggest impact.
The important stuff.
But sometimes it feels like my job is just like a million little frogs,
I know what you mean.
all hopping around, demanding attention.
Right.
How do you even prioritize in that chaos?
That's where his key result areas concept comes in.
Key result area.
Yeah. He says every job boils down to a few key areas
Okay.
where you have to excel.
So it's about identifying those and really honing in
Yes.
on them.
Exactly.
Because a weakness in one area
Yeah.
can really sabotage you in other areas.
Oh, yeah. It's like that chain analogy.
It is,
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
for sure.
So how do you figure out what those key areas are?
Tracy's got a question for that, too.
He's got a question for everything.
He does.
Okay, Kipping.
He says, ask yourself,
Yeah.
what one skill,
Okay.
if I mastered it,
Yeah.
would have the biggest positive impact on my career right now?
Ooh. I like that one.
To you?
That's a good one.
It makes you think.
Yeah. What truly drives success in your field?
For sure.
This reminds me of something else he talks about.
What's that?
The law of three.
Oh, yeah.
This one blew my mind.
Tell me about it.
He says 90% of your value at work
Yeah.
comes from just 3 core tasks.
That's wild, isn't it?
I know.
Think about that.
Think about the impact you could have if you really honed in
Oh, my God.
on those 3 things
I know.
and made them your absolute priority. He tells a great story about this woman named Cynthia,
Oh, yeah.
who doubled her income and her free time
What?
just by doing this.
No way.
I know.
How did she do that?
She identified and focused on her top 3 tasks.
So it's all about focus.
It really is.
Huh.
And I think it speaks to something we all struggle with,
Yeah.
feeling spread too thin,
Oh, for sure.
trying to do too much.
All the time.
That's,
It's like we're constantly juggling.
yeah.
But we're not even sure if we're juggling the right balls.
Exactly. So let's say we've identified our frogs,
Okay.
our key tasks,
Yeah.
those 3 all important tasks that really drive value.
What's next?
What's next?
How do we get down to business
How do we actually do it?
and tackle those things?
Tracy's got some tips for that
Oh, good.
to make that process smoother.
Okay.
And he uses this analogy
I love when he does that.
of preparing like a chef.
Ooh, I like this.
Tell me more.
Okay, so think about it.
Yeah.
A chef wouldn't start cooking without prepping their ingredients.
Right.
It's the same with our tasks.
Okay.
You have to gather everything,
Yeah.
information, resources, tools,
Got it.
before you even begin.
So no more frantically searching for that lost file
Yeah.
or digging through emails when you're ready to go.
It's about minimizing distractions,
Yes.
creating a smooth workflow,
Okay.
setting yourself up for success.
That makes total sense.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
But sometimes,
Yeah.
even when I have all my ducks in a row,
Okay.
those big tasks still feel so overwhelming.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, how do you even begin to eat an elephant, right?
Oh, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot to chew on.
I know.
But Tracy reminds us that even the biggest tasks
Yeah.
can be broken down into smaller chunks.
Smaller bites.
Exactly.
Okay.
He uses this analogy.
Okay.
Crossing the Sahara Desert.
Oh, yeah.
You do it one oil barrel at a time.
That's a good one.
Right.
So instead of focusing on the entire journey,
Yeah.
you focus on the next step,
The next oil barrel.
the next oil barrel,
Exactly.
which makes it so much less daunting.
Right.
And once you complete that first step,
Yeah.
momentum starts to build.
Totally.
And suddenly the task doesn't feel so overwhelming.
And it's amazing
I know.
how much easier things feel
I know.
when you break them down.
Like that saying,
Yeah.
a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I love that one.
And speaking of journeys,
Yes.
Tracy emphasizes that the learning journey never really ends.
Learning is so important.
Continuous learning is essential no matter what field you're in.
It's the key.
But sometimes it feels like there's just not enough time
Oh, yeah.
to learn new things.
Oh.
Where do you even begin?
Well, Tracy recommends
Okay.
dedicating at least an hour each day
An hour.
to reading in your field.
Wow. Okay.
He also suggests taking courses,
Okay.
attending seminars,
Okay.
listening to educational audio programs while you commute.
I love that.
Do you?
Yeah, like finding those little pockets of time throughout the day to squeeze in some learning.
Exactly.
Sometimes even just one small piece of new information can make a huge impact.
It's like finding a shortcut
Yes.
on a map.
Yeah.
It just makes the journey so much easier,
It does.
doesn't it?
But with all this focus on learning and productivity,
Right.
it's easy to forget about something really important.
What's that?
Our unique talents.
Oh, yeah.
Tracy reminds us
Yeah,
we all have natural strengths and abilities
we do.
that make us uniquely valuable.
Absolutely.
So it's about identifying those talents
yeah,
and figuring out how to leverage them.
exactly.
He even suggests asking yourself,
What's the question?
if I could do any job at all, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love that one.
I love that one, too.
It really makes you think about what lights you up,
It does.
what you're naturally drawn to.
It's about aligning your work
Yeah.
with your passions and talents.
It's about finding that sweet spot
It is.
where you can excel
Exactly.
and really make a difference.
Yeah. And it makes such a difference
It does.
when you can find that.
It's like finding that right puzzle piece,
It is.
watching it click into place.
I like that.
Okay, but even when we're passionate about our work,
Right.
there are always going to be challenges,
Always.
things that hold us back.
Oh, yeah.
And Tracy talks about this concept
Okay.
of identifying your key constraints.
Interesting.
He says there's always one major constraint,
Yeah.
one bottleneck
Okay.
that's holding us back.
From achieving our full potential.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's like finding that weak link in the chain
It is.
that's preventing us from moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, and the key is to identify it
Yeah.
and focus your energy on fixing it.
Right.
But how do you even know where to start?
Good question.
There are so many potential roadblocks.
I know.
And he says 80% of those constraints are internal.
What?
So most of the things holding us back
Yeah.
are actually things we can control.
That's wild.
Oh.
So it's up to us
It's up to us.
to change those things.
Instead of blaming those external factors,
Exactly.
we need to look in the mirror, figure out what we can do to improve.
We have more power than we think.
So true. It's empowering when you realize that.
Oh, yeah.
We really do have more control than we think.
We do.
But sometimes even when I know what to do,
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy to do it.
I know exactly what you mean.
And this is where Tracy's ideas about managing energy come in.
Yes.
He says that physical, mental, and emotional energy,
Right.
those are the raw materials for getting things done.
It's the fuel.
It is the fuel.
You've got to have the fuel to execute those strategies.
So it's not enough to just have the strategies.
Yeah.
You got to have the energy to implement them.
And that fuel comes from taking care of yourself.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
You've got to get enough sleep,
Okay.
eat well,
Mm-hmm.
stay hydrated.
The basics.
The basics.
Okay.
He actually says that being well rested
Yeah.
can make you up to 5 times more productive.
5 times.
5 times.
So I guess those all-nighters aren't always the best strategy.
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes you just got to get some sleep.
He also cautions against working excessively long hours.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that?
Because you hit a point of diminishing returns.
Okay.
After about 8 or 9 hours,
Yeah.
your productivity plummets.
And the quality of your work suffers.
Exactly.
We all know that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
You hit a wall
Yep.
and your brain just shuts down.
And you make mistakes.
Yes,
You
exactly.
get sloppy.
Okay, so Tracy emphasizes the importance of understanding your own natural rhythm.
Oh, this is so important.
Some people are morning people.
Right.
Some people are night owls.
Exactly.
It's about figuring out when you are most productive
Yeah.
and then scheduling your most demanding tasks during those times.
That's the key.
And I love that he really emphasizes listening to your body.
Yeah.
He suggests taking one full day off each week.
Right.
I know.
Whole day.
The whole day.
No work?
No work, no emails, no chores.
That sounds amazing.
It does.
I would love that.
It's just pure relaxation.
So hum me up.
And think about it, if that one day of rest
Yeah.
allows you to be 5 times more productive the rest of the week,
Right.
it's a huge return on investment.
Huge.
So it's not about constantly pushing.
It's not.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between effort and recovery.
You need both.
You need both.
It's like a muscle.
It is.
You work it out.
Yeah.
Then you let it rest.
You gotta let it rest.
So it can grow back stronger.
And Tracy also stresses the importance of taking regular vacations.
Oh, vacations are the best.
For the same reasons.
Yeah.
Because when you come back from vacation,
Yeah.
you're refreshed, you're re-energized,
Totally.
you're ready to tackle those frogs.
Like bring on the frog.
And beyond rest and relaxation.
Right.
He's also a big advocate for taking care of your physical health.
Oh, yeah, the basics.
Eating healthy, exercising regularly,
Yep.
avoiding excessive caffeine and alcohol.
It all makes a difference.
It's all connected.
Totally.
Our physical health impacts our mental clarity, our energy levels,
For sure.
our ability to get things done.
You can't have one without the other.
Now, here's an interesting concept.
What's that?
Putting pressure on yourself. Interesting.
Doesn't that sound counterintuitive?
A little bit.
Like, wouldn't that just add to the stress?
You would think so, right?
I would think.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
We often wait for external pressure
Yeah.
to motivate us.
Like a deadline.
A deadline, a demanding boss.
Right.
But Tracy suggests we flip the script
Okay.
and become our own source of pressure.
So it's about setting high standards for yourself,
Yes.
pushing yourself to exceed expectations, challenging yourself to work faster and smarter.
It's about taking ownership.
I love that.
It's about becoming your own cheerleader.
Yeah, pushing yourself to be your best.
And it feels so good
It does.
when you accomplish something
It's like you're proving to yourself.
that you're capable of more than you thought.
It's a great feeling.
But staying motivated day in and day out
Oh, yeah.
can be tough.
It's a challenge,
How do you cultivate that inner drive,
especially when faced with setbacks.
especially when faced with setbacks?
It's all about mindset.
Okay.
Tracy talks about the importance of mastering your mindset.
Okay.
You know, positive self-talk,
But yeah, I've heard about that.
cultivating a positive mental attitude,
Right.
focusing on solutions.
Not dwelling on problems.
Exactly.
I've heard about the power of positive affirmations.
Oh, yeah.
Does he really suggest repeating phrases like,
Uh,
I can do it, or
yeah.
I feel terrific?
He does.
Yeah.
It sounds a little cheesy.
It does.
I know.
But there's research to support it,
There is.
that positive self-talk can actually rewire your brain
It can.
to be more optimistic
Uh,
and more resilient.
it's amazing what our brains can do.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about actually changing the way your brain processes information.
You're changing those neural pathways.
Wow.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so Tracy's a big believer in the power of optimism.
He is.
He even talks about Martin Seligman's research
Oh, yes.
on learned optimism.
Learned optimism.
Remind me about Seligman's findings.
Well, Seligman studied optimistic people,
Okay,
and he found that they tend to be more resilient,
okay.
more persistent,
Uh-huh.
and more successful in pretty much every area of life.
So it's not just about feeling good.
It's not.
It's about actually achieving more.
Exactly.
But what separates optimists from pessimists?
What is it that makes them different?
Yeah, is it just a personality trait?
Right.
Or can you actually learn to be more optimistic?
Well, Seligman found that there are 4 key behaviors
Okay.
that optimistic people exhibit.
Okay, tell me about those.
First, they look for the good in every situation.
Okay.
Second, they seek valuable lessons in setbacks.
Okay.
They don't dwell on the negative. They look for the lessons.
What can we learn from this?
Exactly.
Okay.
Third, they focus on solutions rather than problems.
Okay.
And fourth,
Yeah.
they constantly think and talk about their goals.
So it's about having that positive vision of the future.
Yeah.
It's not about ignoring the negative.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive.
And the potential for growth.
And the potential for growth.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. But let's be real. Staying motivated and focused in today's world
Oh my gosh.
is a constant battle against distractions.
It is.
Tracy talks about technology being a major culprit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what are his thoughts on taming the tech beast?
Well, he's not anti-technology,
Okay.
but he acknowledges the power of our devices.
Right.
He encourages us to be mindful of our tech habits
Okay.
and to create what he calls zones of silence,
Those zones of silence.
where we disconnect
Okay.
and focus.
I know I'm guilty of constantly checking email,
Oh, me too.
scrolling through social media.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
It's like a reflex.
I know.
How do you break free?
He has a radical suggestion.
Oh, okay.
Turn off all your communication devices.
What?
I know.
For how long?
For an hour or 2 each day.
Wow, that sounds extreme.
It does.
But I can imagine it would be incredibly liberating
Oh, yeah.
to reclaim that mental space.
You have to give your brain a break.
So what about those times
Yeah.
when you're just feeling overwhelmed by a task
Uh-huh.
and you can't seem to get started?
That happens to all of us.
It does.
What do you do?
He offers some great strategies
Okay.
for breaking down those big, daunting tasks
Yeah.
into more manageable chunks.
I like that.
One technique he calls
What's that?
the salami slice method.
The salami slice method.
You tackle a large project one slice at a time.
One slice at a time.
So instead of focusing on the whole salami,
Right.
you just focus on that next slice.
That makes it a lot less intimidating.
It does.
Yeah.
And as you complete each slice, the momentum builds.
You feel good.
You feel good.
You get that sense of accomplishment.
It's like those progress bars you see online.
Oh, yeah.
It's so satisfying to watch that bar inch closer to 100%.
I love that.
Tracy also offers another technique.
Okay.
It's called the Swiss cheese method.
The Swiss cheese method.
And this is where you punch holes in a task by working on it for short bursts of time.
Short bursts.
Even 5 or 10 minutes of focused effort can make a difference.
So you're just chipping away at it.
Chipping away.
A little bit at a time.
That's a great tip for overcoming procrastination.
It is.
Sometimes just getting started is the hardest part.
It really is.
Once you break through that initial inertia, it's
Yeah.
easier to keep going.
And he also talks about developing
Yeah.
a compulsion to closure.
Compulsion to close.
That feeling of satisfaction
Yes.
that you get from finishing something.
Crossing it off the list.
And the bigger the task,
Yeah.
the greater the reward.
Greater the reward.
It feels so good.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
It is.
The more you complete, the more motivated you feel to tackle the next challenge.
You get addicted to that feeling.
Speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
Tracy reminds us that we often underestimate the importance
Of what?
of upgrading our skills.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to get complacent,
It is.
especially when you're busy just trying to keep up with your current workload.
You feel like you don't have time
You don't have
to
time.
learn new things.
But why is continuous learning so crucial?
Because the more you know,
Yeah.
the better you become at what you do.
The easier it becomes to overcome procrastination
Yes.
and tackle those challenging frogs.
Knowledge is power,
It is.
and skill is a weapon.
in the battle against procrastination.
Yes.
So it's not just about working harder.
It's about working smarter.
It's about working smarter.
And upgrading your toolkit
Yeah.
makes everything easier.
But with so much information out there,
Oh,
how do you know where to start?
what do you focus on?
Well, he's a big believer in reading in your field for at least an hour every day.
I know.
He also suggests taking courses, attending seminars, listening to educational audio programs.
He loves learning.
He does.
He's all about it.
But sometimes it's hard to know what skills to focus on.
Yeah, there's so many options.
And Tracy reminds us that
Yeah.
we all have unique talents and strengths that
Exactly.
make us uniquely valuable.
Absolutely.
So the key is to identify those talents
Right.
and focus on developing them
To their fullest
to
potential.
their fullest potential.
And he suggests asking yourself that same question.
What question?
If I could do any job at all,
Yeah,
what would it be?
I love that question.
It's a good one.
It really forces you to think about
Yeah.
what you're naturally drawn to.
What excites you?
What excites you?
What lights you up?
And aligning your work with your natural talents and passions
Yeah,
can make such a difference
it can.
in your motivation and your productivity.
It's huge.
It's about finding that sweet spot
It is.
where work feels less like a chore
Yeah.
and more like a calling,
Like you were meant to do it.
like you're meant to do it.
I love that.
But even when we're passionate about our work,
Right?
there are always going to be challenges,
Huh.
things that hold us back
Oh, yeah.
from achieving our goals.
And Tracy talks about this concept
What's that?
of identifying your key constraints.
Key constraints.
He says there's always one major constraint
Okay.
or bottleneck.
That's holding us back from achieving our goals.
Exactly.
So it's like finding that one weak link in the chain that's
Right.
preventing us from moving forward.
the key is to identify it
Yeah.
and focus your energy on alleviating it.
But how do you even know where to start?
That's the question, isn't it?
There are so many potential roadblocks.
I know.
He says that 80% of constraints
Yeah.
are internal. So most of the things holding us back are things we can control.
That's amazing.
I know it's a powerful realization.
It really is.
It means we have more power than we think
We do.
to shape our own destiny.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
How much power we have when we choose to take ownership
I know.
and focus on what we can control.
Absolutely.
And speaking of taking control,
Yes.
Tracy talks about the importance of managing our time effectively
Right.
and creating an environment that supports productivity.
Yeah.
And one of his key strategies is this idea of creating large chunks of time.
Large chunks of time.
So carving out those dedicated blocks in your schedule,
Yeah.
specifically for focused work.
Okay.
Think of it like scheduling an important meeting with yourself.
Oh, I like that.
And then actually showing up.
Don't cancel yourself.
Don't cancel on yourself.
Yeah.
No last-minute rescheduling.
Yeah.
But what about all those distractions?
Oh, those distractions?
Emails, phone calls, the lure of social media.
Right, they're everywhere.
That's where those zones of silence come in.
The zones of silence.
He encourages us to find a quiet place to work.
Okay.
Whether it's your home office or a coffee shop
Or a library.
or a library.
Yeah.
And to fiercely protect those blocks of time
Yes.
from interruptions.
Turn off your notification.
Turn off your notifications.
Put the phone on silent.
Let everyone know you're not to be disturbed.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb.
I love it.
It's like creating that bubble of focus,
Yeah.
a sanctuary where you can dive into your work.
And get things done.
And speaking of diving in,
Yes.
Tracy says high achievers
Yeah.
often operate with a sense of urgency.
A sense of urgency.
They move quickly and decisively.
Right.
And that momentum helps them get more done
It does.
in less time.
And it's not about rushing
Right.
or being careless.
It's about taking action
Yeah.
instead of letting those tasks pile up
Right. You don't want to get overwhelmed.
and create that feeling of overwhelm.
Exactly.
He makes this interesting point.
What's that?
He says, the faster you move,
Yeah. The more energy you have?
it's counterintuitive.
It is.
It is.
But it's true.
It's like that feeling of getting on a roll
Oh, yeah.
where one accomplishment fuels the next.
One thing leads to another.
Like a snowball effect.
A snowball effect.
Things become easier.
Yeah.
And you naturally feel more energized.
The momentum builds.
And finally, Tracy talks about the importance,
Oh,
of single-handling.
Single-handling.
Every task.
So resisting that urge to multitask.
Resisting the urge to multitask.
And giving your full focus to one task at a time.
Yes.
Complete it fully before moving on to the next.
Think of it like a mental assembly line.
I like that.
Each task gets your undivided attention
Okay.
until it's finished.
And then it moves on to the next stage.
Then it moves on to the next stage.
That's a great way to think about it.
It prevents those tasks from piling up
Yes.
and creating that feeling of overwhelm.
It keeps things moving.
It keeps things moving.
So it's about being fully present
Being fully present,
in each moment.
giving your best effort
Yes.
to whatever you're working on.
Love that.
And there you have it, our deep dive
Wow.
into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog.
That was a good one.
It is packed with practical tips and insights
It really is.
for anyone who wants to conquer procrastination
Yes.
and boost their productivity.
It's a great book.
It's a powerful reminder that we have more control
we do.
over our time, our energy, and our lives
More than we realize.
than we often realize.
So what resonated with you the most from this deep dive?
What was your biggest takeaway?
What's the first frog you're going to tackle?
We've only scratched the surface of Tracy's wisdom.
Yeah, there's so much more in the book.
But hopefully this has given you a taste
A little taste.
of what's possible
Yes.
when you choose to embrace
Embrace it.
the power of focus and
Yes.
action.
Action.
Remember? What's that?
Success is built
How is it built?
one task at a time.
One task at a time.
So go out there.
And do what? Eat that frog.
Eat that frog.